Everybody, just a reminder that we do have our chat feature going, and the wonderful and awesome Lana Saul, one of my board members for the National Wellness Institute, will be keeping us abreast as to what's going on in there. I will tell you, and I think for many of you who have, Caroline, I do like that hat, by the way. Spectacular. Anybody that's got the good hats, we're putting them on. So ahoy, captains, let's roll. And looking forward to, and Kevin wins the battle, I think, by a mile at this moment until I can see something else better than giant sombrero. I thought the captain's hat was going to win, but I guess not. So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good day, depending on where you are. And looking forward to another conversation after taking a week hiatus off. Welcome back. My name's Chuck Gillespie. I get the good fortune of being the CEO for the National Wellness Institute. Today, we are going to be talking about the personalization of wellness and how it is the post-virus next normal. Now, Kelly and I had a great conversation via email about the is versus a different word. And it was funny because it was a typo. And I said, I thought that's what you wanted, because we always talked about the fact that the personalization of wellness, or one size fits one, is what we need to be thinking about from that perspective. So thank you, Kelly, for making that typo, and look forward to that. I also have to say, right now, Haley Kennedy is winning the mile distance award. Haley is in Devon, England. So anybody that's further away from the United States, or at least central Indiana, the middle of the United States, I'm going to be seeing where you are. With Kelly has also joined us is Kevin Mcdonald. Really excited about some of these conversations. I'm going to take a few moments here at the very beginning, and I think as everybody has done these in the past with me, one of the things that I like to do is talk about a couple of key pieces. Number one, again, I'm already seeing some wonderful things going on in the chat room. Kelly's even talking about her sister-in-laws from Devon, England. So, hey, Haley, you've already got the connections, and Kelly and I have a connection in that our fathers went to this tiny little college in Indiana at the same time. A couple of other things just to note. Wanted to give you guys a real quick understanding. National Wellness Institute is actually running a very special offer right now because of the need for having a strong voice in the wellness community for the next year and a half. So I'm just letting you guys know that we are doing a 18-month membership for the price of a 12-month membership. If you renewed last month, feel free to send us more money, and we'll just add an additional 18 months on to that. We also do have a new monthly option available, $14 a month, if that's something you would choose to do as opposed to paying the yearly fee. This is also good for organizational members. So I just wanted to throw that out to everybody, let you know. We feel what's going on, but we also know that we have got to have one heck of a collective voice going forward, and look forward to having you as part of our organization. And for those of you who already are, thank you, thank you, thank you. Each time that we've had these, I've always tried to give this survey question out. So let me start the poll real quick. Let me see where you are. And just as a reminder, are you in that fear zone? Are you in that learning zone and growth zone? And so I'm going to start that poll question right now. So please feel free to jump on and start with where you are in today's world, as far as, are you growth, learning? Are you kind of between one of the two? I'm really seeing some really great story. Oh, this is making me happy. I can't wait to show you guys some of these results, because it's exactly where I'm glad people are. And I think if you know that I'm excited, you know we're talking about being in that learning and growth zone moment. I'm going to give you guys 10 more seconds to jump on there real quick. And just so everybody knows, I have one more survey question after this one. This one's important, but the second one is much more important. So I just want to give you a heads up on that. All right, I'm going to shut the polling off. I'm going to share the results with each of you. And as you can see, most people, 51%, are in that between growth and learning mode. And if you recall, 5-6 weeks ago when we first started this, we had most people probably between learning and fear. So we're definitely seeing a bump up there. You know what makes me most excited? 0% of the folks on this call today are not in the fear zone right now. They're at least heading into that learning zone and moving forward. Positive, positive, positive information. I love it. This is fantastic. So I'm glad for this. But let's get down to the very important next question that we have as far as our poll question is concerned. As we all know, especially here in the United States, I don't know if it was worldwide, but we had a big run on toilet paper. And it really made me started to think, how does everybody believe in the way that we should actually set our toilet paper on our toilet paper holder? So with that, I'm going to start this most important poll of making sure that I understand. Let me see how. Oh, maybe it doesn't showing up. Stop sharing results. I thought I had the second poll question. There it is. Okay, there we go. Launch polling question. So now I want to know, are you an over or an under, where it's like, it doesn't matter? Geez, Chuck. I want to find out the intelligence level of this group. Just kidding. This is interesting. This is very interesting to see. All right, I'm going to give you about 5 more seconds to put in here. All right, I'm going to end that polling question. I'm going to share the results. 70% is over, 12% under, and 17% is like, for God's sakes, Chuck, why are you even asking this question? But at the same time, hey, you know, you got to have a little bit of fun. And I think as one of the things we've always talked about on these events, let's have some fun with it. Let's do something. Humor is essential. Thank you, Deborah. I appreciate that. I'm shamelessly excited that I have found my tribe, Haley. I appreciate that one as well. That is exactly what we're trying to do. But I figured since toilet paper was such a commodity or such a run-on piece, thought I'd find out exactly how you use it. Now, I think the funny thing is I've actually, you know, if you put it under, do you maybe use it a little slower because you can't just sit there and spin it real fast? And maybe that's a way of slowing down the utilization. But I will tell you, I'm an over kind of person. And I'm the guy that actually changes it if it's not on there correctly. So, Kelly, Kevin, one of the things that we're going to be really talking about is, like we talked about earlier, is that personalization of your wellness initiatives. It's something that the National Wellness Institute has been talking about pretty much since around 1977, when the National Wellness Institute began. But it is something that you're going to start to see as we start to see more individualized health planning, the ability to learn about your genetic predisposition, to be able to understand how that environment is actually making the differences, how your experiences in life start to make those shifts and movements, how we can't really continue to look at this one-size-fits-all mentality and move it forward. So with that, let me introduce you. Oh, I'm doing too fast. Let me introduce you to Kevin Mcdonald. Kevin, why don't you take a few seconds and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Kevin McDonald. I'm the founder and managing director of Advanced Genomic Solutions. I've been in the medical space for about 25 years. We really found that we've been in the genetic testing space since 2012, and it's just a really exciting time in this business. We're based out of Scottsdale, Arizona, and what we do is we develop actionable and easy to read genetic tests that empower our clients to make healthier lifestyle choices based on their unique genes.
That's awesome, Kevin. Thank you for that. And Kelly, tell us a little bit about yourself. And you tell us a little bit about who Genomic AGS is.
All right. So Kelly Caldwell-Straub, I'm the VP of Strategic Partnerships for AGS. Have been with the organization a couple of years. I really am involved with the development of our partnerships, overseeing our practitioner and provider program, integrating genetics into corporate wellness programs. And one of the things that I love most about our organization, and we'll get to it in the next slide, is our ironclad commitment to genetic testing privacy. I started studying genetics early on when we were just kicking off the Human Genome Project back in the late 80s, early 90s, was just fascinated by genetics. And even back then, 25 years ago, was, really concerned about, once we have all this information, what are we going to do with it? Where is it going to go? What's going to happen with it? And so actually the reason that I was so excited about my partnership with AGS and being a part of the organization was the ironclad commitment to genetic testing privacy. You can reissue your social security card, your driver's license, your credit cards. In fact, I was legally adopted at age 18. I graduated high school one name, and I went to college with everything brand new and reissued. So I've kind of had that personal experience, and your DNA is yours and it's yours forever. And once it's out there, it's out there. And so we have this ironclad commitment, and it's really allowed us to play in this corporate wellness space too, which has been really exciting.
But I think real quick on that to drive the point home, all the genetic testing companies that people on this call are familiar with have a very different business model than AGS. Of 23andMe, Ancestry.com. They sell inexpensive hereditary genetic testing reports in order to get clients to click a data privacy policy that enables them to reuse and sell their data for up to 10 years. So for us, we would lose all of our major corporate clients if we compromise client data. So we don't.
And Kevin, that was a lot of the conversation as to why when we were out there looking at various partners for genetic testing in 2019, just about every single one of those groups was completely taken out of it because our membership, our community was very much saying they would rather pay a little extra or even a lot extra in return for having that privacy piece.
I think, Chuck, I think it's for people, if you're buying a $49 genetic test, your DNA is what that company is selling for profit.
Yeah, in a lot of ways, you're right. So, and Kelly, just so you know, your volume needs to be turned up just a little bit. That's okay. Just from somebody that has sent that to me real quick. So when we look at that, and again, my apologies when I push buttons too fast and too long. I will try to be better at it. Like we were talking about, we do have a relationship and a partnership with AGS. Really excited about this. I personally took mine. Was very intrigued by what I had learned about it. And explained why I could actually drink a caffeinated beverage or a caffeinated drink at the end of the evening and fall right asleep without any problems. I learned that I can't take a multivitamin because my system doesn't really, it just kind of, for lack of a better term, pees it out. Doesn't really take it in. And so I have to make sure that I take a tip. Yeah, Lana, I know. These are the kind of things that we've got to, that I'm learning about. I'm a guy that's been taking a multivitamin forever and kind of realized that now that I'm not taking and I'm taking some direct, I'm definitely feeling better. And my hair's growing back and the whole, that's still just genetics, period. So yeah, talk a little bit about some of the things, Kevin or Kelly, that people are learning about themselves.
Sure.
that have really helped them individualize their own health and wellness.
Sure. So can you, Chuck, could you just slide down to like the next slide where it shows a sample report from AGS?
You tell me when I stop here.
Next one. Next.
Okay, hang on. Now why am I not? Uh-oh. I'm pushing buttons.
Okay.
Oh, look at that. Don't you love it when things get a little out of hand? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my world.
If you go back up one, or I can just, I can go without it.
You may have to. I'm not sure why my computer is wanting to be, well.
Okay. Well, I can explain it. Okay. Over there on the, if you all look on the slide, the left slide there, I can work around that thing that's blocking it. But what this test is it's 60 genetic tests in one. And what it does is for each individual person, it breaks down first. If you look at the,
sorry,
I had it there. There's a wheel on the upper right-hand corner. So what we do is we try to identify what they should eat, what fats. We identify how they convert the food into vitamins. And then we personalize everything with, kind of food cravings, exercise, and an obesity index. So if you look at that report on the very top, this individual should match their meal to their wheel. So their body metabolizes food best when it's 65% carbs and the balanced proteins and fats. So we get a lot of professional athletes that are on no carb diets, and that's carbs are where you get your healthy energy. So, and then the rest of the test is, if you look down, Chuck touched on the caffeine and that we have alcohol and lactose there as well. Interesting to know, but this next section is very important. And right now, your immunity is based upon how your body processes food into vitamin form, and vitamin form is what you use against disease. And in a COVID environment right now, increasing immunity is critical. And for people, even many people can't convert food form into vitamin form. So like Chuck, some people will need to take vitamins and supplementation even if they have a good diet. The next part of the test is we touch on people's addictive behaviors, emotional eating, sweet tooth, and satiety, which is important for people to know. What this test is basically focused on is identifying genetic predispositions for individuals and helping them shift from less healthy behaviors to healthier behaviors. The part of the test you can't see there is there's an obesity index, which is critical right now, given that, all the COVID, most of the mortality comes from people that have existing chronic disease of cardiovascular and diabetes. So that's obesity. The obesity index, obesity causes both of those. Type 2 diabetes is really a choice. It's not genetic. It's not eating and exercising. So we've got an obesity index that tells people on a scale of 1 to 10. If they're a 10, you need to put a lot of effort in and eat right not to be obese. And then last part is individualizing exercise. So if you've got 1 hour in the gym, this test can tell you, you should spend 70% of your time on power and 30% of your time on endurance. And these are things that we sell to all types of wellness programs and gyms and fitness institutes. And they take this report, we train their personal trainers or their wellness coaches, and they develop individualized nutrition and fitness programs off of this test. And when people are learning about their own genes, it builds compliance, it builds engagement. And the other thing that Kelly can tell you, we've had a lot of HR directors that have said that they've never had 2 or 3 people in their office before. And when we were onboarding, when Kelly tested 800 people in one day, she had 30 or 40 people outside of the HR director's office trying to get in. People are interested in this testing. Biometric screening is good to do, but it's still not actionable enough for people. It's not engaging. This is something that people are interested in because companies like 23andMe and Ancestry created tremendous demand.
Wait, Kevin. Let me back up here just a second. As a 20-year HR person and 10 years in an HR leadership role, you're telling me that people actually came to the HR department to not complain about something? Stop right there for just a second, please. This is intriguing in and of itself.
I think that there have been a lot of studies that show that the C-suite of most companies think that their wellness programs are very well received by their employees. And I believe it's about 75% of employees aren't that keen on their wellness programs.
No, you're right. And that's very much a very good statistic. But I just love the fact that, you do have people that are very interested in and engaged what's going on. And I will tell you, and again, I make the joke as a former HR person, but I know that the HR, when I was in HR, and the wellness programming and the wellness strategies and plans and programs that we were doing at our organization, the organization I was leading at that time in the HR department, those were the reasons why people came to the HR department, and was actually to talk about the engagement aspect and how to make sure that we were taking care of things, and they were trying to be ready to make those changes. So I had to make the joke first, but without a doubt, that's exactly what we're trying to make sure that we understand. Have you done this, Kelly?
One last thing real fast. The biggest part that we're seeing now is that HR, whether they're wellness coaches, et cetera, genetics isn't going away.
Right.
Okay. And this is part of continuing education. And what's great about our test right now is 60 genes. We're going to 90 genes. That test when we launched was 7 genes. So we have a very long runway where new genes are being substantiated and validated. And these tests in 10 years will be even more actionable than they are now. But the main thing is, for innovative companies, they realize that genetics isn't going away. Their people are very interested in it, and we can provide something that increases engagement, right?
Absolutely.
And a more productive employee post-COVID-19, people aren't sure. You're going to have less employees. They may be working from home, and productivity is going to be critical.
Absolutely. And Kelly, are you seeing interest from communities as well? City council, mayors, groups like that. Kind of talk a little bit about how a community might be able to utilize a testing program like this as well.
Yeah, we do see interest from government agencies and communities. In fact, we did a large school district in Western Colorado, did about 2,500 tests, and the engagement was really, really high. And I think, communities coming together, especially in that kind of environment to enhance health and wellness and productivity, like Kevin was talking about, is becoming critically important. So, we've tested, mom and pop shops and very small organizations all the way up to, tens of thousands, partnering with fitness facilities and organizations like that. So there's not an entity or organization that can't benefit from enhancing the health and wellness and productivity of their team members. And, we're seeing, as Kevin said, coming out or through this pandemic, and this virus is going to be with us for a long time, that the new normal is going to be that personalization of wellness. Genetic testing can go beyond basic biometric screening because it gives people something very actionable that's very personalized to them based on their unique biology, and they find it really exciting. And I think when team members get excited, then they engage more, they comply more, and they have better outcomes.
Thank you, Kelly. Quick question. Are you able to provide any kind of like an aggregate data to an organization based on the whole picture and obviously follow HIPAA guidelines?
Yep. So we have some very large gym operators that we've worked with that have taken our premium genetic summary highlights, and they have worked their menu items based off of the macronutrients. So if someone's a 65% carbohydrate, they're a C menu item. And so they'll go in and do that. We've been able to go back to some employers with dated anonymized information, such as of the 100 people we tested, your average obesity index was an 8, which is concerning. That they had precursors. The big thing in Asia right now is cardiovascular disease and type 2 diabetes are new in the last 20 years. There was almost no one had it 20 years ago, and now it's 20% of the population. It's not genetics, it's poor choices, okay?
Right.
So we can go into them and say also that we have added in what's called the 3 highs, which are the precursors for cardiovascular and type 2 diabetes, blood sugar, cholesterol, and blood pressure. And these are things that it's good for the employer to know, and it's good for the employee to know. And that's that.
Well, and in the United States especially, it's an old map of each of the states in the United States that the Centers for Disease Control has been publishing for years. Started, I think, in 1990. And what I remember in 1990, it was the obesity rate based on body mass index, BMI.
Yep.
But in 1990, there was exactly 0 states in the United States of America that had a BMI above 20. In 2013 or 2014, I can't remember, it was right in that time frame, we had exactly 0 states in the United States of America that had a body mass index below 20.
Yeah.
And so we're talking literally over just a 20-year span, 15-year span. And one of my favorite stories about that, again, from a lifestyle perspective, is, you know, what happened in 1990. I don't know about the rest of you, but that's when I started school, or when I graduated from college and started school or started work. And there was one thing that I remember. It was the very first time I got an email address. I actually had my very first email in my very first job. We were still not necessarily, there wasn't anything called the internet at that point in time. At the same time, there was also people that were still smoking 2 doors down in my office, but that's a whole nother subject matter. But the whole point you look at is with the changes. I know especially because of, you know, the lockdowns and, you know, I'm working from home now, much more. I'm not moving as much. I actually put it in my calendar, you know, Chuck, move. So we do set those kind of standards up now. Are you seeing a lot of the similar things? Is this kind of how some of the genetic testing that you're working with helps people individualize their health and their wellness?
Yeah, I think personalization means a lot to people, right? So at the end of the day, though, Chuck and everybody, a genetic test is a tool, okay?
Right.
It's a tool that can be used, and it's not a singular. It has to be combined with other things. But the main point is that if you have a population of people that want to get healthier, it's a great tool, okay? And so, you know, you touched on right now, everybody is in an odd state of flux with things. Your gyms weren't open for a while, you know? And so I think what we're finding is that what really is coming out of this is the devastation of people that were obese with this disease. There's going to be a significant increase in wellness initiatives to try to avoid people, to educate them of the increased risk of these types of viruses that can kill you if you're obese. Everybody knows that cardiovascular disease and type 2 can kill you down the road. This has changed that, you know. So I think if there was ever a time, you know, we've had very good steady growth with this company since we founded it, but we really believe that this year is going to be significant. And we're also launching a new immunity DNA test in the next couple months. And we also now do COVID-19 testing on PCR. So, you know, when you touched on, you know, learning and growth and how you help people, you know, what we're kind of focused on is it's enabling people to be educated to make better choices for themselves, right? Because that's where everything starts. I mean, this whole thing is we all get to make choices right now, right? You can make a choice to wear a mask or stay home. You can make a choice to have a sedentary lifestyle and continue to utilize Coca-Cola and big gulps as your hydration form, or you can, you can try to make changes. And for people that want to make changes, we want to help them, right?
Yep. And that really goes back to the root definition of the modern day wellness movement from Dr. Halbert Dunn from the 1950s. And it is developing human potential within the environment to learn and grow, or simply speaking, function optimally. And that's really what we're trying to do, is get people to make sure that they can function optimally. Make sure that, you know, like I said, yes, I can actually absorb caffeine better than most people. I can absorb alcohol better than most people. But I know that now. And now I understand why when everybody says, oh my God, I can't believe you're having that caffeine, 20 minutes before you go to bed. And my wife is like, I can't touch that stuff, past 5 p.m. or else I'm going to be shaking and awake the rest of the night.
But you know what, Chuck, what you should be looking at right now on your test, I personally have always wanted to take off the alcohol and caffeine parts of this test, because you already know how you metabolize alcohol. You already know most people, you know how you metabolize caffeine. That I would love to take that off, but Kelly and others have made me leave it on. You need to be looking at the vitamin portion of your test right now, where you have red dots. Yeah. Red dots mean that even if you eat effectively, if you need B12, B6, D, and E, those, don't take a multivitamin, take those vitamins, because that's what you can't, those are Those are the food form you don't convert to vitamin form, and vitamins are what you need to increase your immunity. I think that's what we all should be looking at right now.
Yep.
Is, you know, you look at these communities that are being devastated by this, and I guarantee you the BMI, no offense for all of you guys from New Jersey, I'm from Boston, it's very similar. We have less morbidity with this disease where we're at in Arizona because people are frankly healthier. California, Southern California, they're healthier. New Jersey, you know, not so much. New York, not so much. Boston, New England, not so much. You know, Detroit, Michigan, Illinois. So, you know, I think, you know, we'll see, but the data coming out on this is so significant that if people don't see this and don't make lifestyle choices, it's deadly, you know? And again, this is just a tool.
Absolutely. Speaking of which, if an employer does absorb the cost of a genetic test like this, they don't fall under the 529 where it allows them to access the results, correct? It's kind of like an EAP where, you know, you just provide the information, and we don't, you know, we as the HR people or the organization will never be able to see it, correct?
Yeah, we only test, so we only send the reports to the person whose DNA we tested. And if we would change that policy, we would do hundreds of millions of dollars a year. We've had insurance companies offer us massive amounts. They said, okay, we'll test 100,000 people. You send us the results. We'll send them in our, you know, on our portal to our employees. We will never do that. Okay. The only test that we do that now that we ask for that is the COVID-19 test for PCR, where we make the employee understand that those results will be shared with their employer because their employer is buying the test, and this can affect your colleagues, right? So other than that, we give aggregated, anonymized data to large employers to help them make wellness choices for their people. But we never, it's against, we can't do it, we won't do it. The only type of genetic testing that's legally to be shared with a insurance company to use is in the life insurance space.
Okay, and that makes some sense.
Yeah.
So, and Kelly had, if you guys are in the chat feature, Kelly has actually put a sample, which is actually on our website, of what you would see, since I don't know how to run my own PowerPoint presentation, and my apologies for that. Quick question here. Many of my coworkers have refrained from our current wellness programs out of the fear of this kind of confidentiality piece. This is definitely an area that a lot of organizations deal with. I know when I was in HR, we dealt with it a lot. We dealt with it, especially with the employee assistance programs. Talk to us about how you, Kelly and Kevin, how do you iterate or maybe give a best practice as to how you're helping those folks explain the nature of that?
It's real simple, Chuck, and everybody. So the only person that we send an encrypted PDF of your results to is to the person who we tested, right? So there's no way for the employer to get it because we won't send it to the employer. If an employee chooses to send it to their employer, that's different. But we only send the report for the health and wellness testing to the person that we tested. So, you know, and that's simple. We don't sell, share, or compromise client data. None of our partners are big data, insurance companies, or pharmaceutical companies, right? So, but if you look at all those other companies I mentioned, they're all owned by Google. 23andMe is owned by Sergey Brin's ex-wife from Google. You don't think 23andMe is a data company? I mean, come on, right? So
makes sense.
I mean, you have to but people have to get educated. And frankly, this has really given the genetic testing industry a black eye because it's irresponsible. I mean, I would never, we deal with sophisticated employers that run us through IT. We have a Department of Defense contractor that handles our IT and to and from information so that it can't be compromised and can't be hacked. I mean, you can always be hacked, I guess, but we have at least the latest technology to prevent it. But when you see these other companies that are just taking advantage of unsophisticated direct to consumers to get their data, that's a bad business model. But it's one that right now, if you look at every one of the marketing materials from those companies I mentioned, they're all talking now about building back trust, because they just found that they sold $350 million worth of client data to GlaxoSmithKline through a shareholder deal so that they get exclusivity, that 5 million sets of client data for 3 years. So.
Yeah. And again, Kelly, thank you for continuing to kind of add some of the chat stuff. We had a few questions on pricing. We do have it on our website, so you can go take a look at it. Members actually get a discounted price. So get that 18-month membership and actually get a reduction in costs here too. But yeah, we definitely want to make sure that we're doing that. Kelly, real quick, I know we have about 4 or 5 or 8, 10 slides still looking. Are there anything else that we need to kind of jump back on the slide presentation to bring, or have we kind of talked it all the way through?
I think we've really talked it all the way through. The only thing I would add to Kevin's comments about the privacy policy is, we do a lot of education up front with employers through the HR departments, with the employee team members. When people understand what we're not testing for as much as what we are testing for, it tends to drop that level of kind of fear or anxiety around genetic testing. We're not doing the whole genome. We're only testing the genes and variations that we deliver on the report. And we're not testing for ancestry, paternity, forensics, criminology. We're not testing for illness and disease markers. We're only looking at health and wellness genetics that people can use to make behavioral change to improve their outcomes. So what we find, in fact, when we did the school district in Colorado, I did several post-test workshops, and people were coming into the workshops. I was just standing back and observing, and they were sharing their reports with each other, and they were talking, and they were comparing and pointing, and they were really excited to talk about the information and discover not only about themselves, but about others. And I've never seen that with a biometric screen report. People aren't, just walking and sharing that. So it's as much as what we're not testing for is what we are.
Can I touch on that real quick? So we genotype, we don't do next generation sequencing. The companies I mentioned they look at 100,000 data points. When we run this test, we look at 60 specific data points, right? So when you see companies that are doing these exome testing, that's 30 million data points. So why would someone pay, so that if they sell that test for anything under $350 they're not covering the cost to get those data points, right? So that's what you need to ask also, is that if you're looking at, and look at competitors of ours and see, what they run. Because if you've got a 60 gene test and they're running 400 genes, and you're only getting a report on 60 genes, but they're keeping a report on 340 other genes, then that's an issue. That's a red flag, I would say.
Hey, Kevin, will you talk about working with hospital systems? We've got a question about that.
Yep. So with different hospitals, we have other tests. We have a drug sensitivity test that tells people how they metabolize medications, and we're working with Johns Hopkins there. We also started genetic testing with Mayo Clinic, and then they started doing their own. But we're working with a large hospital right now to do their employees on the health and wellness test. So these are hospital workers, and their objective is they looked at adding three different options to add into their programs this year, and 72% of the people wanted genetic testing. So that was it. So within hospital groups, we also have wellness institutes that like California Health and Longevity Institute and many more that buy our tests, mark them up, sell them to their clients, and then do the consultations themselves for a very strong, touch.
So real quick, I'm just going to throw it back to Kelly here. Kelly, talk about how the testing works, because I know I got it in the mail. So you're not necessarily going on site per se, especially in the wonderful world of remoteness today. Kind of walk through how the test is actually being conducted and how you get the results.
Sure, and there's a slide, I think it's just a couple after this one.
We'll see how I do.
Really simple and really painless. In fact, here's our test kit.
There it is.
Yeah, it's just like an envelope. It's very easy. We can actually send the test kits direct to the employers at their home. It includes a postage paid envelope to send it back to us. And the testing is as simple as a Q-tip swab on the inside of your cheek, 20 to 30 seconds, let it dry, stick it in the envelope, sign the form. All we need is your information and where to send the test. We're not asking, pages and pages worth of information because we're not testing that or selling that. And then we deliver the encrypted reports back via email in just a couple of weeks. So very simple, very easy, very straightforward. And we've modified all procedures that we would have done on-site to off-site during this remote time. So it's super simple.
Awesome. And even when you are an incompetent person like me and you swab and you don't get it right, they send a new one to you. So just giving you all an idea of the fact that, even the incompetent get a second chance on this one.
It's very rare.
Oh, great.
You're
Make me feel even better there, Kelly.
One of a kind.
Oh, that's so fun. But yeah, it is very simple, and I wanted to make sure that and we keep getting a few questions about the cost in our chat. It is actually here, but if you go to nationalwellness.org and you click on the AGS tab, it'll take you right to that and give you all of that information as well. Yeah, Lana, I will not COVID self-test. I guarantee you I'd probably accidentally stick it in my ear somehow. But yeah, so that's kind of great, and I appreciate the thought process around that. Final thoughts, final words. Kevin, I'm going to give it to you, and then I'm going to throw it over to Kelly.
I think it comes back to, everything relates to COVID right now, and increased immunity is important. And this is a innovative tool that can increase engagement and compliance in wellness programs. It's something that people are interested in, and we hope to be able to help people with it. Build your immunity, and this is an important component of doing that. And we certainly appreciate everybody's time today. This has been fun.
Kelly, I will throw one at you. Do you have an info packet available for clients electronically?
Absolutely, and it should be available for download on the NWI website. If not, I'm going to type my information into the chat
It's
box.
there. There it is.
Actually,
thanks, Lana.
Directly, and I'll be happy to send the information.
Yeah. Well, with that, Kevin, again, Kelly, thank you so much. I think you're going to start to see, especially with NWI, we're definitely going to be having more and more conversations about one size fits one, about self-testing, about making sure that we're looking at it from that perspective. Because let's face it, we were talking about that long before the pandemic hit. But as we get into the next normal, as we move towards this next normal, it really is going to have to be this personalization. We're going to have to make sure that we understand our own health, because like you were saying even earlier, knowing whether you are an endurance versus a strength person is going to make a difference. Knowing whether or not you can actually handle the medications and even the vitamins that you're taking. You've got to make sure that all of these things start to connect and interconnect, because it is definitely going to be an interesting thing, because as we're seeing all over the world right now, each and every part of this country is having a different positive or negative or different effect of how this virus is hitting. In the rural communities, we're going to see it's going to take longer to get out there. We're definitely seeing, the more tight areas. It's the same thing with your own genetic tests. It's the same thing with your wellness initiatives. If you guys think a Couch to 5K program is going to be highly successful, then you've got a whole bunch of 5K people. But if you actually ask and have people raise their hands, and if you got 500 people in a room and say, who here wants to run a 5K? If you get 20 hands up, I'm impressed. So, and by the way, I've actually asked that question, so I do have some empirical data on there. So that's really definitely what we want to be thinking about. We're going to be continuing on with these journeys and these conversations. watch for more articles, watch for more conversations around this. And we definitely are looking forward to continuing to have our Reimagining Wellness events, and look for some definitely more information about what is now going to be our virtual conference for 2020. Kelly, Kevin, thank you guys so much for your time today. I appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, happy Friday. Look forward to a wonderful weekend. I'm very happy that we had 0 people in the fear zone today. We're definitely kind of moving in a new direction, and we're really ready to start building out that next normal. And we're really excited about it. Watch for a lot of great things that are coming. And thank you guys very much. And ahoy.
Thank you very
Ahoy.
much, Chuck.
Thanks, Chuck. Thank you, everybody.
Have a good weekend, everybody.